Welcome to the Mainframe Application Tuner, or MAT, Customization, Overview and Mandatory Steps video. After a successful installation, you have Mainframe Application Tuner, or MAT, and its Performance Management Assistant, or PMA, component installed on your site. You perform separate customization procedures for MAT and PMA. The MAT customization includes the following stages. 1. Mandatory customization, steps 1 through 8. 2. Optional customization, steps 9 through 15 to configure subsystems. 3. Optional installation and configuration of the MAT graphic user interface. And 4. Optional configuration of the MAT database and REST API. In this video, we'll focus on mandatory customization steps 1 through 8. The MAT customization application is called trcust. To run the trcust application, use the trcust member that you can find in the library shown here. You define the MAT high-level qualifier during the installation of MAT. For example, if your MAT high-level qualifier is apm.qett.mat 12q5, you can start trcust by executing the command exapm.qett.mat 12q5.ceescls 0 trcust from the ISPF interface. When started, trcust prompts you to provide a high-level qualifier for all MAT libraries that will be created during the MAT customization process. We recommend that you use the same high-level qualifier that you defined for MAT during the installation, in this case, apm.qett.mat 12q5. Press Enter to continue. Issue the S-line command to start MAT customization. The list of MAT customization steps shows the completion status of each step. Successfully completed steps will be marked with the plus sign. Optional customization steps are marked with the flag O. Attention! Complete the mandatory customization steps strictly in the predefined order. Step 1. Specify the job card and other operational defaults. Move the cursor to Step 1 and issue the S-line command. Define the details of the job card that should be used for all batch jobs which the MAT customization procedure will create. Specify the JES output class for these jobs. Can the name of the MVS system to be used for batch jobs and started tasks that cannot be shared between MVS systems. Specify the unit names and, optionally, volumes to be used by the customization procedure for dynamic or batch dataset allocation. SysDA is the default. Specify the data set names for the help, sample, and parameter libraries, or use the default names. The MAT customization Step 1 is now successfully completed. Step 2. Add the product load library to your system APF list. Move the cursor to Step 2 and issue the S-line command. MAT uses authorization programs CSPLD and C3Load. Specify Yes for adding the authorization libraries to your APF list and choose the dynamic D or static S list type. Dynamic is the default. Specify the details of your system source library. You must have access to this library. Review the data set that contains authorization details. Then type the end primary command and press Enter to save the changes. Then authorize the MAT library by issuing an operator command, executing a utility, or waiting for the system IPL. The MAT customization step 2 is now successfully completed. Step 3. Create the Global Information File. The Global Information File, or GIF, is used to store internal information about content-sensitive help and other information shared by all MAT users. In this step, you can allocate a new GIF and optionally copy monitor definitions from a prior release GIF. Move the cursor to Step 3 and issue the S-line command. Use Option A to create a new GIF. Specify the volume for the GIF, the data set, and the member name, or use the defaults. Review the job that MAT creates to allocate the GIF, then submit the job. When the job finishes, the GIF is created. The MAT customization step 3 is now successfully completed. Step 4. Specify server space product parameters. Define the key parameters related to starting the MAT server that are stored in the library shown here. In this demonstration, we will create the parameter member TUNSSP00. However, you can create multiple configurations and interchange these configurations upon MAT server startup, either by defining the member name in the startup JCL or in the server startup command. Move the cursor to Step 4 and issue the S-line command. Specify the MAT server space name or use the default name, MAT Tuner. Define other required parameters for the MAT server. Use the defaults if uncertain. For details, use the PF1 key for help or refer to the MAT documentation. Specify the Sysplex parameters that allow you to use MAT on multiple LPARs. The XCF group name must begin with an alphabetic character between J and Z. Define the basic parameters for CICS, IMS, and WebSphere MQ support. Use the defaults if uncertain. For details, use the PF1 key for help or refer to the MAT documentation. Specify the basic security parameters. Use the defaults if uncertain. For details, use the PF1 key for help or refer to the MAT documentation. Then proceed to reviewing the TUNSSP00 member. Type N to save the TUNSSP00 member. The MAT customization step 4 is now successfully completed. To update the defined parameters, you can either re-execute step 4 or edit the member. Step 5. Specify user and system default values. In this step, you define the default user and system parameters that are stored in the library shown here. Move the cursor to Step 5 and issue the S-line command. Specify Yes to proceed to reviewing and updating the members that contain the default settings. The parameters are described directly in the respective members. For more details, refer to the MAT documentation. Press Enter to proceed to reviewing and updating the system defaults. Scroll the contents of the member, review the parameters, and update the values as needed. Use the default values if uncertain. Type End to save the member. Now proceed to reviewing and updating the user defaults. Similarly, review and update the values for the user default parameters in the user member. Type End to save the member. View the details of the batch job that will update the two members' settings in the GIF. Submit the job to update the defaults. When the job finishes, the MAT customization Step 5 is successfully completed. Step 6. Create the server space JCL procedure. In this step, you create and save the JCL that starts the MAT server space. Move the cursor to Step 6 and issue the S-line command. Based on the previously defined values, MAT has prepared procedure MAT Tuner P that starts the MAT server space. Review the parameters and the values that will be saved in the MAT Tuner P member. For details, refer to the MAT documentation, if necessary. For example, in the MAT started task procedure, you can specify the version of the Tune SSP configuration file that you want to use upon running the task. Or specify the startup type for the MAT server, warm or cold. With the warm startup, the MAT server remembers all the previously invoked monitor requests for jobs that are not yet running. Type End to save the member. You can optionally copy the content of the MAT Tuner P member to your system proc.lib library. Also, you can set up MAT to be started automatically after a system IPL. The MAT automated startup instruction will be stored as a command member in your system library. You can define other name index if needed, for example, command 01, etc. Type End to save the member. The MAT customization Step 6 is now successfully completed. Step 7. Create the batch report procedure. In this step, you create and save the JCL that processes MAT batch reports. Move the cursor to Step 7 and issue the S-line command. MAT has prepared member tune batch that ensures the generation of batch reports during the MAT operation. Review the content of the JCL. Then type End to save the tune batch member. You can optionally copy the content of the tune batch member to your system proc.lib library. The MAT customization Step 7 is now successfully complete. Step 8. Create execs for starting the TSO client. Move the cursor to Step 8 and issue the S-line command. MAT has prepared the MAT Tuner C ISPF exec that ensures invoking MAT with TSO ISPF. Review the MAT Tuner C ISPF exec procedure, then type End to save the member. MAT has prepared the BackTune exec that ensures invoking MAT. BackTune is the mandatory name of the MAT C list member that is stored in the library shown here. Review the details of the BackTune member. Then type End to save the member. Enter the System C list data set name where the MAT ISPF exec procedure will be copied to. MAT is now ready to be run using either of the startup commands that are shown on the final panel. Press Enter to continue. The MAT customization Step 8 is now successfully completed. Start MAT using the rex command that you defined during the customization. The MAT customization mandatory steps are completed. Thank you for watching.